On a seemingly ordinary day, October 21, 2009, Northwest Airlines Flight 188 embarked on a routine journey from San Diego to Minneapolis. The skies were clear, and the flight was expected to be uneventful, just another day in the life of commercial aviation. Little did anyone know that this flight would soon become etched in aviation history, not for a tragic accident, but for a baffling mystery. A mystery that would leave experts scratching their heads, and the public in disbelief. The Airbus A320, carrying 144 passengers and 5 crew members, inexplicably overshot its destination by a staggering 150 miles. A deviation that was both alarming and unprecedented, vanishing from radar screens and triggering a wave of concern across the nation. The disappearance was sudden, and the implications were dire. This incident, now infamously known as the ghost plane incident, sent shockwaves through the aviation industry, raising serious questions about pilot conduct, air traffic control protocols, and the potential role of technological distractions in the cockpit. It was a wake-up call that no one saw coming. As the plane continued its journey, oblivious to the mounting alarm on the ground, the passengers remained blissfully unaware of the unfolding drama. Air traffic controllers desperately tried to re-establish contact. They used every tool at their disposal, but their efforts seemed futile. Their attempts were met with an eerie silence, the once familiar blip on their radar screens now a ghost from the past. It was as if the plane had vanished into thin air. Minutes turned into an agonizing hour, with every passing moment fueling fears of a hijacking or a catastrophic failure. The tension in the control room was palpable. The military was put on high alert, with fighter jets scrambled to intercept the wayward aircraft. The situation was escalating rapidly, and decisive action was needed. However, before any drastic measures could be taken, the unthinkable happened. The ghost plane seemingly reappeared out of thin air, as if it had never been gone, casually contacting Minneapolis air traffic control, as if nothing out of the ordinary had transpired. The calmness of the pilots added to the surreal nature of the event. The relieved yet bewildered air traffic controllers immediately guided Flight 188 back to Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport, where it landed safely. The ordeal seemed to be over, but questions lingered. The passengers, unaware of the drama that had unfolded during their flight, disembarked, eager to reunite with their loved ones. They had no idea how close they had come to a potential disaster. However, for the aviation world, the ordeal was far from over. The incident had exposed a glaring vulnerability that needed to be addressed. The question on everyone's mind was simple yet profound. How could a modern airliner, equipped with state-of-the-art technology and piloted by experienced professionals, simply vanish from radar and overshoot its destination by such a significant margin? The answers were not immediately forthcoming. The search for answers would unveil a series of startling revelations, exposing vulnerabilities within the aviation system and raising uncomfortable questions about human error in the age of automation. The ghost plane incident would serve as a stark reminder of the delicate balance between technology and human oversight in the skies. The events of October 21, 2009, unfolded with an air of disbelief, as a routine flight morphed into a real-life aviation mystery. What began as an ordinary day for passengers and crew soon turned into an extraordinary sequence of events that would baffle experts and captivate the public. Northwest Airlines Flight 188 took off from San Diego International Airport at 3:01 p.m. PDT, its trajectory initially mirroring countless other flights crisscrossing the North American airspace. The skies were clear and everything seemed to be proceeding as planned. As the plane approached Minneapolis, its intended destination, around 7 p.m. CDT, something went amiss. The routine flight path began to deviate, causing concern among the air traffic controllers monitoring its progress. The Airbus A320 deviated from its assigned altitude and course, an anomaly that quickly caught the attention of the controllers. Its transponder signals fading away from the radar screens of increasingly concerned air traffic controllers. The blip that represented Flight 188 began to flicker and then vanished, leaving a void on the radar. Frantic calls to the cockpit went unanswered, each attempt met with an eerie silence, the silence amplifying the growing anxiety on the ground. The controllers, seasoned professionals, knew that every second without communication increased the risk of a potential disaster. Air traffic controllers in Denver, responsible for monitoring the airspace over Colorado, desperately attempted to re-establish contact, their efforts proving futile. The tension in the control rooms was palpable. At 7:13 p.m. CDT, with each passing minute painting a grimmer picture, the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, officially declared Flight 188 as missing, a term that sent shivers down the spines of all involved, triggering a cascade of emergency protocols. The airport's emergency response teams were put on high alert, ready to spring into action at a moment's notice. The North American Aerospace Defense Command, NORAD, was alerted, their expertise in handling such crises now crucial, and 2 F-16 fighter jets from Wisconsin were scrambled to intercept the errant aircraft. The jets roared into the sky, their mission clear: locate and secure Flight 188. However, just as the situation reached a fever pitch, with everyone bracing for the worst, at 8:14 p.m. CDT, a full hour and 13 minutes after the initial loss of communication, Flight 188 re-established contact with Minneapolis Air Traffic Control. The sudden reappearance of the flight on the radar was both a relief and a mystery. The pilots, seemingly nonchalant about the chaos they had caused, calmly responded to the controller's inquiries, their voices betraying no hint of the turmoil they had left in their wake, claiming to have been distracted and unaware of their location, or the frantic attempts to reach them. Their explanation, while simple, did little to quell the questions that now loomed large. The relieved yet bewildered controllers guided the plane back to Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport, their relief tempered by the need to understand what had transpired, where it landed safely at 8:45 p.m. CDT. The safe landing marked the end of a harrowing chapter, but the questions it raised would linger for a long time. As the dust settled and the initial relief of the passengers' safe return subsided, attention quickly shifted towards unraveling the mystery behind Flight 188's alarming disappearance. The pilots, Captain Timothy Cheney and First Officer Richard Cole, initially offered a rather perplexing explanation for their hour-long silence and deviation from the intended course. They claimed to have been engrossed in a heated discussion about airline policy, completely oblivious to the repeated attempts by air traffic control to contact them. However, further investigation by the National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, revealed a more troubling aspect to their story. Both pilots admitted to using their personal laptops during the flight, a direct violation of company policy and a serious breach of safety regulations. They maintained that their laptop use was limited to personal tasks and unrelated to their work in the cockpit. However, the fact that they were engaged in activities unrelated to flying, especially during a critical phase of the flight, raised serious concerns about their professionalism and decision-making abilities. The pilots' insistence on a lapse in situational awareness due to their intense discussion about airline policy, coupled with their admitted use of personal laptops, painted a picture of negligence and a blatant disregard for safety protocols. The incident highlighted a dangerous trend in the aviation industry: the increasing prevalence of distractions in the cockpit, particularly those stemming from the use of personal electronic devices. The NTSB, tasked with investigating the baffling incident of Flight 188, dug deeper, determined to piece together the events that transpired in the cockpit during that fateful hour. Their mission was to uncover the truth, no matter how unsettling it might be. Their investigation confirmed the pilots' claims of using personal laptops during the flight, a clear violation of sterile cockpit rules, which mandate that pilots refrain from engaging in non-essential activities during critical phases of flight, including takeoff and landing. This rule is crucial for ensuring that pilots remain focused on their primary responsibilities. However, the investigation went further, revealing that the pilots' laptop use was more extensive than they had initially admitted. The NTSB discovered that the pilots were not just briefly distracted, but were engaged in prolonged periods of inattention. Data recovered from the aircraft's flight data recorder showed that both pilots had been actively using their laptops for a significant portion of the flight, including the period during which they lost communication with air traffic control. This critical lapse in communication raised alarms about the pilots' situational awareness. This contradicted their initial claims of limited use and raised further questions about the veracity of their statements. The NTSB had to consider whether the pilots were deliberately downplaying their actions to avoid repercussions. The investigation also revealed that the pilots had switched off the autopilot and were flying the plane manually during the time they were out of contact. This decision to fly manually while simultaneously distracted compounded the risk factors. This detail added another layer of complexity to the incident, as it suggested that the pilot's inattentiveness occurred while they were actively engaged in flying the aircraft, not merely during a passive phase of the flight. It highlighted a severe breach of protocol and a dangerous lapse in judgment. The NTSB's findings painted a damning picture of pilot negligence, revealing a clear disregard for safety regulations and a blatant breach of trust. The investigators were left to piece together how such experienced pilots could make such egregious errors. The pilot's decision to prioritize personal activities over their professional responsibilities, especially while at the helm of an aircraft carrying over 140 passengers, was deemed unacceptable and a serious lapse in judgment. The safety of everyone on board was compromised by their actions. The incident served as a stark reminder of the potential consequences of complacency and distraction in the cockpit, even among experienced pilots. It underscored the importance of adhering to established protocols and maintaining unwavering focus on the task at hand.